Mm-hmm.
Yeah, volume's good.
Volume's great.
Volume's great. Yeah, man. How are you feeling today?
Bro, I feel grateful.
What are you grateful for?
The fact we just like got together and did all of this and set this all up, and now it's like got the film, got the laptops, got the mic, got the screen working, and we're here. We're good.
We're good to go, man.
Good to go.
Let's get it. So where are you just coming back from, though? Tell us about those trips real quick.
Bro, I was in Chicago. I was in San Diego, California. Bro, and then I went from Dallas, Texas, where we live, to then San Diego for like a gig or 2 gigs. And then I went to Chicago for like a conference. And in Chicago, it was freaking snowing outside. And I hated it. But this wild stuff happened in Chicago, man.
Chicago, the city of brotherly love, right?
Yeah, man.
They got that big old bean in the middle of the city.
I've seen it once. I've actually
it?
never had a chance to go see it, like, and actually like touch it, but I've driven past it.
What's it feel like? Because you travel a lot, and you touch down different cities. What was that? What's the atmosphere like? Can you feel a certain way when you like touch down somewhere? You know what I mean? Like LA feels like LA, San Diego, but like, what about like the mental health atmosphere? You must be able to feel something when you touch down. You know what I mean?
I mean, if I'm being real, it kind of feels surreal, but not in a good way, right? Because you kind of go from city to city. You sometimes when you get to the height of it, you forget what city you're even in. Like I go in and I literally go from the airport to the Uber to the hotel to the stage. Sometimes, like there was like 2 times on tour, my last tour, it was like the airplane to the stage and then back to the airplane.
Okay.
So I didn't even see the city, you know?
Yeah, but you probably felt in those performances. But those,
of course,
not performances, more, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that's still pretty special. My man said airport to the stage to the airport, you know?
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. No, that's good. That's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you, brother, man. Yeah, it's wild because when I think about the job that I have now, I realize that this was all once a dream, you know? And even though there's moments where it's just so fast paced, I'm currently living in what used to be a prayer, and that doesn't go away from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, when I have moments where it's like I forget what city I'm in sometimes, and like my girl, like she has to be like, "Yo, Wes, like you're in Chicago," I'm like, "Yo, we used to be in a hospital, and now we're out here traveling the country, sharing our story." That's like
mind blowing.
Mind blowing,
dude. First and foremost, congratulations, man.
Thank you, bro.
And I'm very ecstatic to see where you go next.
Oh,
you know,
man.
see where this journey takes you.
I know, bro. It's gonna be crazy.
You know, but all right, let's hop into some of these questions here.
Let's do it.
I just felt like I needed that clip. You know what I mean? Catch you off guard.
I appreciate you, man.
For sure.
Also, you can get fun with it too. You don't have to go in order. You can just like ask whatever.
My man said bottom up, don't go in order.
No, I meant like because the top one is just like the top is like more so like medical kind of things.
Okay.
You know, the bottom is like more of like, you know, personal questions that students have asked me.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. What I'm actually seeing here is you realize you had a lot of questions because I see numbers and then there's no numbers and I'm seeing some answers.
Yeah.
So I may realize, oh wow, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
All right. So oh, this is cool. I can even mark off the ones I'm done.
Exactly.
Is this a read only? This might be a read only.
Oh, is it read only?
Hold on.
I can share the doc with you real quick.
No, it's fine.
Okay, word.
It's fine.
See, this is fun.
No, we won't go to the iPad. All right, so I'm just going to go. What do you like doing outside of speaking?
Outside of speaking, man, when I'm home, I really like doing nothing. Because when you think about being on stage, there's such a deep amount of like dopamine that just hits your brain that like you're up there. It feels so awesome. You're meeting people. They're like, can I take a picture with you? And then you go home, and I just like I do actually 2 things. One, I go home and I sit on my couch and I'm like binging The Blacklist right now. And I love that show right now. And that's
Shout out Blacklist.
Shout out The Blacklist. I love it. And I just kind of have a day to myself. And the second thing I do is I schedule a back massage. Like me coming back into my body has been so helpful. It's something my therapist recommended that I do. And I'm not the best at it yet, but I've just started doing that the last 2 months.
Okay.
So when I come back home, because right now we're in Boston, but right now when I go back to Dallas, I'm going to be getting a massage. And that's how I kind of come back into me, pour into my glass, that when I go back on stage, I can give to other people.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
that makes perfect sense. It's like your ritual almost. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, how old are you? First and foremost, Wes, how old are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. So I'm 26 years old, and people think it's funny because when I speak in schools, I speak in high schools, colleges, and even middle schools, I get mistaken as like a student all the time. And I had to grow out my facial hair a little bit and grow out my hair because I'm like, yo, I'm 26 years old. I pay taxes, bro. I pay
taxes.
I pay taxes. I'm 26 years old. I'm originally from a small town called Sharon, Massachusetts, and I grew up in that small town, kind of feeling like I couldn't find a sense of belonging. And when I met my now fiance, soon to be wife, put a ring on it.
Hey.
When I met her, we both agreed that we did not want to raise our future children the way we were both raised. So she's half white, half Chinese. I'm black. And we're both people of color. We're like, we don't want to raise our kids in a predominantly white space where we're going to be the only ones, you know? So we moved out to Dallas, Texas, where we live now. There's Hispanic people, there's Koreans, there's Indians, there's black folks, there's a little bit of white folks, but like there's such a melting pot of people where we live, and that's why I'm so inspired and like grateful to live in Texas, because it's like, yo, out there, you're not just one, like the only one. You're one of many.
Yeah.
And you're in this diversity pot. I know that's kind of way off the hook of what you're
Not
asking.
at all. Not at all. That's perfect. I mean, so like even touching on that, it's almost like you're finding your own path, and you're lucky enough to have your fiance, and you both are almost on the same page that you want to create a life that's different from what you had, not because you're not grateful, but just because you want it to be a little bit different and you want it to be truly your own.
Exactly.
You know, which is super special, and a lot of people don't even get to find that. You know,
exactly.
So that's pretty awesome, man. I'm very happy to hear that.
Thank you, brother.
And to touch back on Sharon, I know you went to Sharon a couple weeks ago. Actually, we went together.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, what was that experience like,
bro? Having you there. Shout out to you. Like, shout out to James in the chat, bro. Like, what, bro? How we met and stayed in touch is insane. It's wild, and we need to do a podcast about that. For sure.
that's another story for another day. But yeah, man,
bro. Going back to my former middle school, and even I didn't go to the same high school in that town. It was surreal. You know, we were there for 2 days, and it felt like, holy crap, like this is what I actually get to do for a living. But not only that, I mean, when you and I were taking the video camera and going up and down the hallways, and we got this clip where like we're standing right in between the cafeteria, and I'm looking like basically down these two hallways, and I feel like in my mind, like being in that area, it was like a replay of who I was in 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade. And just to think how proud that person would be of who I am today. That's what it felt like going back. It was like I'm going back as the person that my younger self always needed. And that's how I also see myself on stage. If I could speak to that one student who was me in 6th grade, alone, felt like I couldn't find a sense of belonging, feeling very anxious, feeling very ashamed and embarrassed, and just quiet and invisible, right? If I can see that person and make them feel seen, that's mission accomplished. So going back to Sharon, bro, it felt like, yo, I'm going back to show my younger self that we did it, you know, that we found a sense of belonging within ourselves. And that's been crazy. That's been crazy.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, because not only did you do it for yourself, but you've created an outlet that your younger self needed, but wasn't there.
Yes.
And now you're that outlet for hundreds of kids. What does that feel like? You know what I mean? Like, you not only went to Sharon, and it's like, okay, you're definitely doing what you should be doing, but it's like, you're now that outlet that you needed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a big responsibility that I wear. Like, even last night, true story, like I was driving back home to my mom's house, and me and Katie get into the driveway, and I get a ding on my phone. It's a YouTube comment. And I don't have a big audience on YouTube yet, but like any comment that comes through, I can see it. So I'm like, what is this? And this girl who literally found my page, I think she was a former student that I actually spoke to, she expressed that she's struggling with self-harm. And like she was asking for advice. And like stuff like that happens not just on YouTube, but happens on Instagram, happens on TikTok, where students will come into my live and they want to continue the conversation. So to your point, like it's direct kind of evidence that like holy crap, like there are actual students who really look to me as a not just inspiration, but a safe space. And that's something that I don't take lightly. And it's hard because I know I can't save people, right? But just to hold that space, both in person, like IRL, and virtually, that's what I never take that for granted. I never take that for granted. And then what I do is when those students reach out, I try to connect them with resources because that's what they're looking for. They want someone to validate how they feel and then get connected to some help. And if I can be that bridge, that's what I'm here for.
And that's absolutely beautiful because even to see the way that the kids were able to gravitate towards you and talk to you, I know we've had conversations, but just the way that they're able to talk to you and open up is really, really special. And
man.
Yeah, man, dude, major props to you.
Thank you.
That,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you so much, man. I don't take it for granted. These kids are amazing. We talk about everything from mental health to like Tyler the Creator to Travis Scott. Like it's dope.
Yeah, and that's cool. And who knows, man, that one little conversation changes a person's, life. Well,
because that's what happened to me, right? Like when I was in 6th grade, I had a dad, like this older white man. He came into my middle school and he told us a story about his son, Ryan, who unfortunately died by suicide. And he was very much bullied in middle school. He just couldn't find a way to manage his emotions, and he couldn't talk about it with his parents either. So his dad ended up finding his son, and it was very challenging just to sit there in the room and see this man who I never met in my life tell the story that was his son's story. But in actuality, I felt like he was telling my story. And it was crazy because I went up to him after that conference, after that session, and I just hugged him, and I cried in his arms. And the full circle moment was, it gets very scary. The full circle moment is I actually ended up finding his contact information before I left for my last tour in August. And I reached out to him. His name is John, bro, we could pull up on the screen. John Halligan. And I was like, bro, Mr. John, you probably don't know who the heck I am, but my name's Wes Woodson. You came to my school when I was in middle school, so 14 years ago, and you changed my life. And now I go around the country sharing my story with students. And he's like, oh my gosh, what school were you from? I tell him Sharon Middle School. And I told him how I went back home. I felt so moved by his presentation. I emailed him, right? He found the email. In the email, I said, Mr. Halligan, I just want to say thank you for, I couldn't type back then, but Mr. Halligan, thank you for your talk today. It really spoke to me. I hope one day I can have an anti-bullying presentation of my own.
Wow.
And now that's what I do for kids.
Yeah.
Bro, that's wild. So I got excited. But
no, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Push me out.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I wish I'm insert hand clap audience applause right now.
Oh, you can do that.
I was looking for the button. I didn't know which one it was, but no, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man.
It is one of these?
It's one of them. You guys want to what's the track? That one.
Which one?
This one? Yeah, turn it up. All right, well, not.
Stop it. My guy Wes. Yeah, one time for Wes. Oh, all right. That's enough of that. All right, where were we?
We're just chatting, bro. This is pretty fun. I like this.
Chatting.
This is fun.
Okay, so this is a good question, and I think it's almost a little bit basic,
That's
but
fair.
I want you to go in depth with it.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
How does mental health affect your public speaking?
That's a great question. I mean, you can go so many different angles.
That's what I'm saying. I want to know, I want to know, how does you having a bad day impact you going on stage and telling people that having a good day is possible?
So it's so funny you asked this, because the reality, the truth of it, and I always want to say this, that I'm trying my best to take off the mask, if that makes sense. So I always identify myself as being like an optical illusion. So in the way I mean by that is think about a swan. Like a swan looks this perfect image. You heard me say this before. And on the below the surface, it's kind of pedaling like this. there have been so many times on stage where I've been suffering in my life or struggling, whether it's like relationally, like me and Katie just not being on the same page, me just going through it, to be honest. And I would go on stage and kind of paint this image of like, you are enough, but deep down inside, like I was struggling to feel enough that day, right? And I made a promise to myself the end of this last tour. So I took all of October off. And I told myself when I was kind of sitting and like journaling, I was like, I refuse to go into 2025 on any stage feeling empty. I refuse, because not only that, I feel like I'm lying to the students. And not only that, I feel like I am lying to myself. And then more than that, what example am I setting, right? I'm contradicting myself. I'm showing the swan, yet I'm still being like that swan. So it has felt very challenging for me and my mental health, because I almost feel guilty not going on stage when I like need that time for myself. Like it was very hard for me to be like, I don't want any speaking engagements for October. Like it was very hard, but like I needed it, right? Like, and I had to realize that I was in a very difficult place in August. Like in August, my tour began in August, right? And my grandma passed away in August, and we were at the funeral. And I remember feeling like I never wanted to be put in a position where I had to choose work over family. I never wanted to do that. My work is to give me freedom to spend more time with my family and to provide for my family. And she wasn't even 2 hours in the ground, and I had to go hop on a plane. Like that broke me, you know? And I remember I was like, do I cancel it? Do I not? This was the day. So essentially I was going to fly to Maryland and then do a gig and then fly to Tennessee. So the tour was going to continue.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Katie, and like, I was crying, bro. I was crying because I felt like so guilty of, I don't want to cancel it, but I don't want to leave my family either. And my girl, she was like, Wes, your grandma, like she knows you're here and she knows why you're put on this earth, you know? So take your time to be with yourself. So I had a moment by myself. I said a prayer. I did my thing I normally do to kind of regulate myself. And I went on that plane, and I made an agreement with myself that when I got back, I was going to be like fully into my family. And that's what it was. So there have been moments when going on stage has not been good for my mental health. And now from that, I learned that I really have to, like you and I were talking about this earlier, put my mask on first. I have to pour into me first. And I'm no longer going to go on any stage feeling empty, because it just feels so depleting, so tiresome, man, you know?
And Wes, honestly, you shouldn't have to, because brother, man, you are enough, dude.
I know.
You are enough.
I know.
You feel me, bro?
I know I am. I
You
know
are
I am.
enough.
I know I am. And honestly, that's the cool thing about that students ask me too, of like, how do you know you're enough? It's never going to be a day. It's not going to be like a day of like, oh, I'm enough now. You're going to have moments where you kind of relapse or go back into those thought patterns because it's so ingrained into you, you know?
Yeah.
But like, you have to be aware of it. So I was aware in October, I was running on E, right? I was running on not feeling enough. So I was like, I gotta stop and come back into me.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is what helps me in my mental health, of knowing where I'm feeling triggered, knowing where I'm starting to kind of go back into my former thought patterns, and then doing the things to course correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's pause there for a second. All right, Wes, welcome back.
What's
Welcome
up,
back.
brother? What's up, brother? It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Heard from our sponsors. Okay.
Seem to be we got open slots. Open slots.
Open slots. Reach out.
My MacBook is sticker free at the moment. All right, so now we're back.
Yes.
We're back. So this whole process is interesting because it's all about your mental health, right?
Yeah.
And you clearly have been, not clearly, I'm sorry to say it like that, but
No.
you've struggled. You know what I mean? You've struggled throughout life. You struggled through college, high school. What was it like when you told your parents about all of this, and then when you started speaking on it? Because a lot of it is heavy, and you do bring up your parents. So what was that response like, both good and bad, from them? Like, were they happy that you're hearing this place talking about the mental health, and then were they also kind of upset hearing some of this stuff because maybe they didn't know that you were really feeling all of that? So what was that like all around for them? And yeah,
it was. I'm in a place now where I'm 26, so I try to have empathy for my parents in particular, right? My dad is a black man who works in corporate America, and my mom is an immigrant from Jamaica, right? And even though my mom is a mental health therapist herself, right, it doesn't mean that we had these conversations openly at home. So when they found out about what was happening in college with the domestic violence and the toxic relationship, they were shocked, but not surprised, right? They were like, we had no idea, but then hearing you talk about it, we started to see how like you would always be attached to her and you didn't really have any other friends outside of her. And then when it got to like me going to the hospital and me being suicidal, it was like, whoa, now we got to pay closer attention. Because then they felt this level of like guilt. It was like, is this my fault? Are we bad parents? My dad asked me one time, he was like, I hope the divorce didn't have an effect on you. Because he didn't know. Like he just, my dad, even though he always made a promise to me that he was going to be in my life, my parents got divorced when I was 12. He had told me that I would never move outside the state nor out the country. So I would always stay within like 30 minutes from you. Mm-hmm. So every day, bro, in high school, he would drive me to school. He was a part of my life. Mm-hmm. But when it came to being vulnerable with my dad, of like talking about the struggles with my anxiety and my depression and these thoughts of hurting myself, I didn't know how to talk to him about that. Mm-hmm. I could bring that to my mom because we already had that kind of rapport. Mm-hmm. And even then, even though we had that kind of rapport, my mom's first instinct was, how can we reframe this? You know, how can we kind of, yes, you're struggling, but how can we kind of make it into a positive? That was her approach, right?
Okay.
And it came from a good place, but it also invalidated me. Mm-hmm. Because what I learned is that kids, even as grown adults, the 3 words that kids need to hear mostly when it comes to like their feelings, it's not I love you, it's I believe you. You know, it's like validating you. Mm-hmm. And my parents didn't really validate my feelings a lot when I was a kid. So when they heard about all this, it was hard for them to grasp. But now, through conversations, it's gotten a lot better. Mm.
Well, I'm definitely glad to hear that. And I know that you speak to parents as well.
Yes.
And was that a major thing? I guess I'm going off the books here. But
That's fine.
Was a motivation to talk to parents kind of stem from you not being able to talk to yours about these things and maybe wanting to like set it up so like you're speaking to the kids about mental health, but then it's like, wait a second, I'm going to go talk to your parents about it too so that they can understand from a different perspective. And then that way you're linking the both. You're linking not only the student, but you're linking the parent as well.
Dude, yes. But it wasn't like the intention. Mm-hmm. So what happened was I started speaking in schools by accident. I got out of the hospital in March of 2020, bro. And I was like, I'm just going to take my journal I kept in the hospital, and I wanted to share what I learned in the hospital with other students, like friends of mine who had suicidation, who were depressed, who had thoughts of not wanting to be on this planet anymore. And I wanted to share what I learned with them. Like, what I was learning in the hospital, I think it should be taught in every single classroom across America. I truly believe younger kids need to know the difference between a positive coping skill and a negative coping skill. Like even down to like why biting your nails is a expression of nervous energy as opposed to just biting your nails. You know what I mean? Like trying to understand the why behind your behaviors. If you can equip a younger kid like that with that knowledge, that'd be wild. No. So I took my book. That's where the book came from. It was just to share what I learned in the hospital. And I remember for me, my mom, when she heard about the book, she was like, wait, what? Like, you're going to write a book about your anxiety? Like, what happens when you run for president in like 30 years? That was her vision for my life, to be like Barack Obama part 2. You know what I mean?
We need it.
We need it. We need the hope. We need the hope. But I was gonna offer hope in a different way, you know? And when she found out about the book, she was the one that kind of introduced me to speaking with this nonprofit organization. And that's how it all got started. Okay. So I started speaking in schools first. Then when I went out on my own, schools were asking me, we want to do parent nights. Do you do parent nights too? And I was like, I guess I do now.
Yes, sir.
I guess I do now. And that's where it came from. But you're right, bro. It was like, how can I say to these parents what I wish I could tell mine? Which is why my program that I do for parents is called The Secret Life I Kept from Mom and Dad. Confessions from an Anxious Son.
So real quick there.
Yeah.
Because I think that's interesting that a school asked you if you do parent night.
Yeah.
And then you kind of did. So at what point did you figure out that you could impact the parents too? Like, you know what I mean? I know, like, I can speak to them, but at what point did you realize that you're really the meister now and you can like really have a real positive impact on the way that these parents can interact with their kids?
Yeah. I think it happened in small ways, but there was one time where it was like the game's changed. Like where the level of impact, because I don't like using the word influence. It's the level of impact because, of course, I can influence someone to like want to get a therapist, which I'm grateful for. But impacting a household that was once not talking about mental health, like, oh no, we sweep that under the rug, and then now wanting to be that bridge of having that conversation, that sort of impact I don't take lightly. I don't take that for granted. So that one moment was 2 weeks ago in San Diego. I was in San Diego. I gave a presentation to 1,000 high school and middle school kids in the morning. And then that night, I'm presenting to parents, right? And this area in San Diego, it's kind of affluent. You know what I mean? It's a nice area by the water. I'm like, how do you kids learn? This is like PCA from Soy 101 type stuff. And I'm like, dang. So I go present to the students. After the presentation's over, there's 50 kids in line just waiting to say something to me. And I'm hearing one by one all their stories. The teachers are like, yo, they got to go back to class. Like, yo, Wes. Like,
yo, Wes, chill, bro.
Like, relax. We can't write all these hall passes, you know? So it was wild because they were like, can you come back for lunch? Okay, cool. So I came back for lunch. And in the lunchroom, they gave me this kind of room off the cafeteria. They're like, can you meet with these 15 kids that want to just hang out with you? So we're hanging out, just shooting the crap, whatever. Then all the kids go back to class. Lunch is over. One girl stays behind. She tells me, hey, Wes, I'm suicidal. I was like, holding space for that, right? I asked her how her parents, how do they feel about, all of these things that you're telling me? And she's saying, like, I don't talk to my mom about it. I can't. She kind of says that her parents kind of use therapists and psychologists as like a gateway to talk about these things, but she just wished that her parents could talk to her about it. Again, kids don't want to hear I love you or only I love you. They want to hear I believe you. So she felt like she couldn't talk to her parents about it. And she's like, I heard you're doing a parent night tonight. Can I tell my mom to go? I was like, of course. So that night, her mom comes. Her mom comes up to me, tells me that she's the girl's mom. She was like, my daughter told me to be here tonight. She told me to come to you personally and tell you that I'm here. And I was like, oh, okay. So then later on, after the presentation, the mom comes back up to me. She's like, now I see why my daughter wanted me to come tonight. And I'm going to take a lot of things you said tonight, and I'm going to go back home and sit down with her and just talk and listen. And the wild part, though, was later that night, I went on TikTok Live, and that girl, she hopped back in TikTok Live, and she said, it was the first time I ever told my mom I was suicidal. That level of impact, that is what I love. Like being that bridge, because kids need their parents on their side when it comes to when they have these emotional challenges. But a lot of times it feels like they're on an island by themselves. So having the mom validate the girl's experience, bro, that's what I love so much.
That's truly incredible.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. And that's interesting that you say that you need your parents on your side. Do you think that your parents are 100% on your side, have your back now?
Yeah. Oh, they ride for me. Like, what? What? The funniest thing about it, my mom made a fake Instagram account so she could, like, follow my journey on social media and follows, like, all the tour stops. And I feel like my mom in particular, I'm a huge mama's boy, but we have had a huge, like, 180 in our relationship. When she got divorced from my dad, it was just her and I in the house because my two older siblings, they're older than me, right? So they were out of the house. They started their lives. So my mom and I, we had this almost like brother and sister relationship in a way. And we would clash a lot, A lot of the I'm not enough feeling comes from my mom. And she knows that. Like we've had this conversation where if I brought him a B+, she'd be like, why not the A? You know what I mean? If I brought home an 85, it was like, where's the 87? You know? And in my mind, it was never enough. So I wasn't enough. And I told her that. And we've had deep conversations to change that. And she told me, again, this is where the empathy comes from, that she was parenting me the way she was parented. And that's what flipped the switch in my mind, which I say to these parents is, you're not a bad parent. You're just doing for your kid what was done to you. And how I take that even bigger is, I'm going to give my kids the upbringing I wish I had. I'm going to validate them. I'm going to say, hey, you don't need to bring me a 95.
Yeah.
You just got to try, you know?
And I almost feel like, 'cause I don't want it to sound like you're hating on like the past generation or our parents, because you're not, but it's like, it's that thing where one generation learns from the next. And especially with the mental health, our parents learned from their parents. And that was a generation where mental health wasn't really a thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like our parents, and I know I've struggled a lot too, and my parents have been through it, and it's just like, I don't know, it's not our parents' fault. It is their fault, but it's not. It's just how they were raised and how they were brought up. And it's cool to see in your case where your parents are adapting and changing.
Yeah.
You know?
Very much
because
so.
a lot of some people don't have that, you know, and that's tough to see, but it's definitely cool to see you understand that you wanna do it a little bit differently, you know, and that's really cool to see.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I love it. And it took time, right? It wasn't overnight. We still have our struggles sometimes, but it's very different, you know. And I see that they're trying. They call and check in on me when I'm on the road. My dad, he actually is the one that encouraged me to take October off, right? Because he was a traveler himself. He was like, man, you need to slow down. You need to pour into your glass, Wes. So hearing these tips from my father, like a black man, that's unreal. It's unreal.
Absolutely. So now my next question, I guess, is going to be about anxiety and stress, and how do you differ the two? And what would you say, what are the differences and what are the similarities between the two?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You want the medical answer? Or
I don't want the medical answer. I can Google the medical answer. I want the mental health professional answer.
Oh, I like that. Honestly, man, like when I think about stress, because a lot of times I personally would mix it up. I would like, oh yeah, I'm just stressed out. But how I understand it now is stress for me is like a deadline for a paper, right? If I haven't started that paper that's due by midnight on Tuesday and it's Monday, like that's stressful, right? That makes sense. But if my body is going through a transition of like my stomach is feeling like I just want to throw up and I can't breathe and my sight is getting narrowed and I feel like I'm just like, I can't hear things around me, right? Stress is like our response to something external, but anxiety is how we actually respond to stress. It's how we actually interpret stress in our body. So it's the, oh my gosh, it's the sweats, it's sweaty armpits, it's the sweaty hands, it's the, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten in all of these hours because I just can't put food in my stomach because if I do, I'm gonna throw up. It's the tightness in your chest. When I feel those things, that's where it gets like, oh my gosh, my brain is working overtime. You
And
know?
when that happens, what do you do?
When I have like a panic attack or like on the way to the panic attack?
and again, I don't want the mental health professional. You know what I mean? Like we all have grounding exercises. We all have, but different things work for different people. And something that works for you might work for somebody else. So I'm curious as to what do you actually do in those moments?
Yeah. This is going to sound very like weird to people because again, like you said, what works for me might not work for you. I let my body have the panic attack because the more I try to fight it, the worse it gets. So I try to let myself have a panic attack. And I do like this quick thing. I haven't had a panic attack in a long time. The last one I had was, I remember exactly actually. It was June. It was like the last week of June. We're moving from Boston to Dallas. We're preparing to move. And it's just a lot going on. My grandma was moving back up here from Florida to be put on hospice care. We got like 20 people coming in and out of the house we were staying at. And we're about to make this big move. I'm about to propose. So there's so many life changes happening. My grandma was about to, like, me and my grandma have the same birthday. So that was my, like, day one person. She was the first person to ever breathe life into my dreams and tell me that I could do anything I want. And she believed in my writing. She believed in my speaking. She believed in, like, I was going to be a pastor one day. And I don't know, like my grandma was everything to me. And when she was coming into the house, we were staying at her house in between the move between Boston and Dallas. When I watched her on her deathbed and knowing that I was leaving, I just felt like this. I just felt out of control, and my body just went through this very, very, very like disassociative like kind of episode where I felt outside of my body. And I think anyone who has a panic attack can relate to that.
Yeah.
Like you just feel like you're not in your body.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hear things around me. I couldn't feel things. My face felt very like I felt my face was melting in a way. I don't know how that makes sense, but it was very strange. And my fiance, Katie, she held my hand and she just kept saying, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." And we went and got this mango smoothie. And I love mango lemonade, but the coldness of the mango smoothie helped take my like brain off of the focus of the racing thoughts and the rumination and to like shocked myself. So holding something cold is something I do in the midst of a panic attack. It kind of helps me snap back. And then when I come down, I try to practice self-care almost immediately. So whether I get my favorite food, you know, at the time I got like this Italian sub and a mango smoothie. And I just kind of like go in the car. I was in the car at the time and I watched YouTube. You know, that was kind of how I showed up for me. But that's how I deal with my anxiety attacks.
That's interesting because I'm almost in a similar way with whenever I'm dealing with, I don't like saying crippling anxiety, but to keep it real, that's what it is. I've learned that I can't like avoid it and I have to deal with it, but I set a timer on my watch for 15 minutes. And as soon as in that 15 minutes, I'm allowed to feel whatever. But as soon as it ends, I have to move on. And it's amazing because by minute 8 or 9, I'm like, why am I even feeling like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the important thing that you said is to give yourself a space to feel that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And that's the most important thing.
100%, because we spend so much of our time fighting it, you know, because there's a lot of shame there, I imagine. Because I know we hear it all the time, like, oh, no one loves panic attacks.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't love it, but I'm not going to fight it either, because if I fight it, it's almost giving fuel to it.
Yeah.
Right?
It tries to hit you harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if you are in a ring with Mike Tyson, equivalent, because shout out to the Jake Paul.
I know, I'm glad you said equivalent.
Equivalent to Mike Tyson. If you just like try to fight him and entice him more, what's gonna happen? He's gonna punch you in your face. Like, no. Like,
it's gonna get annoyed at you.
Exactly. So I don't try to fight my anxiety anymore. And in some ways, and this might sound corny and cheesy, I really try to find a way to befriend it. You know what I mean? And by befriending it, it's not judging myself for having anxiety, not saying I'm a piece of crap for having anxiety. A lot of the language I used to have when I didn't have the vocabulary back then, but now that I have the awareness of what anxiety is for me and how it shows up for me and in my body, I don't label myself as someone who's bad or guilty for having it or embarrassed even, but I go to have my space to have it, and I acknowledge that, hey, this is happening right now. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It's what is, and I'm feeling these things, and I know it's not going to last forever, right? I know I'm not dying, and even in the moment I might not think that, right? But at the end of it, I remind myself, I'm safe. I'm safe now. I'm safe now, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.